Welcome to the Cohesive Home Podcast. In our first interview of 2018, I chat with Grace of the Bali Market. She shares her inspiration behind her beautifully curated online shop and her minimalist living journey, as well as tips on how to bring calm and balance into your home. We hope you enjoy this episode and stay tuned after the interview for a 20% off discount code for our listeners only. Well, Grace, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I'm really excited to share your story with everyone. I know you've been a longtime listener and we've worked with you in the past with your Bali Market. But I would love for you to start off by just kind of telling everybody who you are and just a little about your family, where you're from, and just kind of give us a backstory about you.
So my name is Grace. I'm married. I have two little girls, 2 and 4. They'll be 2 and 4 next month. So I have my hands full with them. And I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Minnesota, went to school in Wisconsin. That's where I met my husband. And now we've been in Arizona for about 6 years. And we live in Scottsdale, and we love it. It's sunny and warm, and it's amazing every day.
That sounds awesome. And I know that Kate is jealous right now because I just talked to her on the phone, and she's like, yep, there's a foot of snow on the ground already.
Don't have that, and
no.
I love it.
You're like, I have a tan all year round. Yeah, I'm jealous. Well, how long have you guys been in Arizona?
So we moved here. It's been about 6 years now. So both of our girls were born here. This is, it feels like home. Pretty much our whole married life, we've lived in Arizona together.
Cool. Well, and so obviously, I mentioned in the intro, you have a market called Bali Market. It's an online shop. And your main attraction, which I absolutely love, are your Turkish towels. If you're new to the podcast and you have not heard our episode on simple bathrooms, I think that's what it is. We shared a bit about your towels. So, yeah, I would love for you to share with everyone a bit about your backstory with maybe why you started the market and what your intentions were with that. I'd love to know that.
Yeah, so it's been about 2 years now. It's definitely evolved from the way it started. Turkish towels were something that I used personally, and I loved them so much. They're easy to take on travel, which I was doing a lot more of a few years back.
Yeah.
They're really pretty, and I knew I wanted to have my own line of Turkish towels one day. So I started selling on Amazon with the encouragement of a friend here, a local friend. And the line that I chose sold out like crazy on Amazon. 5-star reviews. And so I knew I had something there. From there, I wanted to be able to have my own shop. My background is retail. It's what I went to school for in Wisconsin, retail and in interior decorating. So combining those two, it just felt like this was natural. And my life is filled with minimalism and enjoying simple pleasures. And I wanted to be able to share that with others. And the towels and the shop, it all came together as the Bali Market and sharing a message of minimalism and how you can have that in your own home and indulge in simple pleasures and simple comforts with choosing certain products for your home to live with.
So how do you source your towels? Because I know that if you were to go to Amazon, which I know before I knew about your market, that's where I would go. I'd go to Amazon to look for Turkish towels. And a lot of times it would be someone literally from Turkey selling the towels. But how have you found a good supplier or a good reputable, wholesaler to give you this product?
Sure. Yeah. So they are located in Turkey, my manufacturer. It's a woman-run business in Turkey, which is is great. That's unheard of. So I really appreciate that side of it. And I sourced a lot of different samples. I wanted to make sure that these were the best towels. Like I didn't want to just sell something that was okay, or, people would be like, oh, this is all right. I wanted that really nice wow factor with these towels. And I found it in this supplier. The second I opened up their samples that they had made for me, I was like, oh, yes, this is it. Like they know what I'm looking for. This is great. So, yep, they're in Turkey. I import them. They run out of a village in, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, it's like Denizli, Turkey. And the entire village is sustained by this industry, Turkish towels. So I think that's a really interesting part of the product as well. It's typically men that do the weaving, the looming. It's old antique hand looms. It's incredible to watch. And then the women typically tie the fringes, because the Turkish towels, a lot of people don't know what they are. They're a flat weave towel that has fringes on the end. They're the original towel that was ever made. And so the women tie the fringes. It takes like 20 to 30 minutes for each towel. Like these are handmade. So I really love that story behind the product as well. It's not just something that's mass produced without any love behind it, like, a story. These have a real history.
Yeah. Yeah. And personally, I love that. And I know that a lot of our listeners are going to appreciate knowing the story behind the towels and knowing that they're coming from a good place. So to kind of take a different step right now, I know that obviously you found us because us being Cohesive Home, you found our podcast because you're into minimalism and are just simple living in general. Can you maybe give us a little story about your journey to minimalism? Have you always kind of had, this lifestyle has just kind of been natural to you, or has this been something that you've really had to work at, or was it an aha moment, or kind of when did that all happen?
It's definitely, it's been a part of my life forever, and it didn't have a name when I was growing up. I grew up in a 1-bedroom home in small Minnesota town, and that's what I knew. We had a small home, and I loved it because I saw what we could do because of it. We could travel as a family, even though we weren't of means family. We weren't wealthy in any way, but we were able to travel and have experiences because we lived in this small house. And then growing up, I move out and I have kids, and now my home is filled with stuff, and I hated it. That was not what I was used to. It's not what I wanted for myself. And it just felt like, I just felt uncomfortable with having a lot of stuff. And so it's been a journey, but I guess it's always been in me to be interested, to want that desire of less and small spaces. And I think what's evolved for me would be the less but better side of it, where growing up it was just less and small and all that, but now I'm appreciating having nicer quality and enjoying kind of like the comforts that come with nicer things that we couldn't have if we had a lot of stuff or a big home to furnish. I couldn't have, the things that were important to me, or that I appreciated, that I found comfort in. So for me, a lot of the minimalism is just the lowering the stress, giving my kids a home that they can freely play in, where they're not surrounded by stuff to get in the way of their creativity and their playtime. And then being able to have the things that we want, and not just a bunch of stuff that doesn't make us feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I know that feeling. And it's funny how even with having a small space, there's still stuff you still have to keep purging, and yeah,
all the time. It's a never ending process. Minimalism definitely isn't like, oh, we made it, here we are. I know we've talked about organizing and being organized, and I think like minimalism and organization are not one and the same because I'm not an organized person. And I need to be have less stuff so I don't crowd my life with being messy and unorganized.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the pain. I know.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm so there with you.
Is not it's not a Pinterest worthy lifestyle always.
Yeah, that's so true. Yes, that is so, so true. That's so true. Well, so you mentioned you have kids. How have you been able to balance, because obviously simple living and minimalism is not about just stuff. It's about your life and how you balance things and how things flow together, right? And making things not crowded, I guess, even in your personal life. So how have you balanced that with your work and your kids and your family? Because I know it's hard. Kate and I definitely, we feel it with trying to have even just a podcast.
It's tough. Yeah, you only have so much time. And I think where I've been able to find a comfortable balance is removing the busyness. And busyness is I want to say it's an epidemic right now. We're all busy, and you're almost proud to say, oh, we're so busy right now. But just removing that and saying, no, this is what's important. And then all of a sudden, the time kind of clears and you have the moments, you have the time for the kids, you have the time for the relationship, and then you have the time for the business. And for me, the business is really fulfilling. It's not just something I do that's a job. It feels really good to me. So it's important that I set aside time and pour myself into it. And just as much as it's important to me to have date night and focus on my husband. And then the same with family time and my own time with the girls and sharing them with family. And so traveling to see family, because I think that's important too. They want time with their grandkids and their nieces. Mm-hmm. So removing the busyness and the idea that like busyness is a good thing. I think it's a really bad thing, and it takes you away from what is important.
Yeah. Yeah. I could not agree more with that. I think, Kate and I talk a lot about that with everybody just being so busy, and us included. It's something I think with each season of life, you kind of have to reprioritize things and maybe do a little, Jenga and figure out, what gets taken out and what gets put back in. So I think those are really wise words. So I know that within our correspondence, you and I had chatted about possibly sharing some of your wisdom with our listeners, because you do have, I can see your house in the background right now as we're on Skype. It's very well decorated. It's so beautiful. And I think that Bali Market also kind of encapsulates this feeling of calmness that I would love for you to maybe give some tips to our listeners on how to bring that into their home. Just that sense of calm, that sense of balance that we were talking about.
Yeah. One thing I always encourage, something that's important to me is to have things from nature in my home. And just even plants, like it's not like they're just pretty either. They clean your air and they make your home healthier. So it's not just something pretty to look at. So things that are useful to me are really important to have in my home. Another thing I've been interested in is crystals. I know nothing about them, but I'm fascinated by them. I think they're so beautiful, and I've been trying to add some to my house. We'll see how that goes. But I think bringing things in from nature can really give some life to your home.
I totally agree, unless you're me and you have a black thumb and you tend to kill things very easily. I'm not joking. I have killed a cactus before.
Oh,
I watered it too much.
yes, that is what happens. You cannot water those.
I know. So I have some new ones. My brother and sister-in-law, they actually just moved back out to California and they couldn't take their plants with them. So they gave us a bunch of plants and I have not killed any yet. So it's been a couple months, so we're good. We're good so far.
You need like a stick or something instead.
Yeah.
That's already dead and is meant to stay that way. That's, yeah.
Yes, I know. You're like, look at this beautiful piece of art of my stick that doesn't purify the air at all.
Well, and even things that are made from fiber, like fiber art.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different approach, but things like cotton or like the wall weavings that they're beautiful and they're so popular right now for a good reason.
Yeah.
It's really bringing in nature. Cotton is a plant, so
yeah, very good point.
Yeah, you won't hurt that.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Another thing is to decorate with things that you use. So especially in your kitchen, that's an easy place to do this, where you can decorate with bowls and with serving platters or trays. Don't just tuck them into the cabinets. You put them out and use them. Or like in your bathroom or bedroom, you could decorate with your jewelry, hang that on the wall. So things that are useful, that they'll get a different use than just being a decorative piece. I think it's a great way to include minimalism and still have, some organization with your stuff without it being in a bin that says jewelry or serving.
Yeah. I love that. It's like so simple and yet it makes so much sense. I love that. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yes.
Even like using things in different rooms, like take some cute bowls that you have in the kitchen in the cupboard that you use when you have parties or hosting, and store things in it in different rooms and use it in your office, or if it's not too breakable, put it in the kids' room.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, here, this is plastic, kids. Have at it.
Yeah. And then another thing would be, we're talking about family homes and involving the kids, getting their, not just using their artwork, but allowing them to decorate if they want to. And as they get older, that changes what they're going to want to include in the home. But for me right now with my young girls, my daughter has a gallery wall that she just kind of created on her own. It wasn't me telling her, hey, put your artwork here. It was like it naturally came to her because she had open space in her room. And my girls share a room. And we're in a small, older home. So they have a small bedroom. But I kept kind of their walls open so that they could engage in that they felt the creativity could come to them, and they decided, she decided she wanted to hang her art up with, on this wall. And it's nothing I could have created. It's so organic and natural to a child that I couldn't have created that for her. So involving your kids, letting them have a little freedom, and again, the minimalism is going to allow that to happen.
Yeah. I love that. That is as something we did in our last house. We actually had extra wall space in their room. Unfortunately, here they have a little bit like by their beds, and so I feel like that's kind of their space to do that with. But yeah, I love just having that freedom in a blank canvas in a way that they can take ownership of it.
Yeah.
And really kind of make it their own. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, that's their home too. I want them to feel at home here. And we did move a little bit when they were younger. We've moved. This is the second house or the third house my oldest has lived in, or I guess both of them. So yeah. So I want them to feel at home wherever home is.
Yes. Yeah, we're in the same boat. Like, our kids have been in multiple houses, and it's funny how it's like, well, as long as they have their things that they love and they have us, and we know that we can, they can make it their own. Yeah, that's a big part of
It's
it.
important. Yeah, they need to feel comfortable and safe. Yeah, like
Yeah.
this is their space to come home to.
Yeah. That that's awesome. And that actually goes really well with our last episode that we had about kids spaces. So if you're listening and you haven't listened to that one, you should take a listen. It's pretty good. Well, so what is next for Bali Market? Have you, I mean, it's a new year, and I know how shop owners, they're like, okay, big plans for this new year. Do you have anything in the works or anything you can tell us?
Yeah, I definitely do. So what's exciting is starting February 14th of this year is the 1 year anniversary of my first sale on the balimarket.com. So to me, that's a really exciting turning point. We're going into year two. And with that, I actually went to Paris and met with my manufacturers. So I met them at a big trade show, and together we created the new spring 2018 line of the Bali Market. And I'm so excited about it. It'll be available in April, and I kept the line very simple. I listened to why people like the Bali Market, and they said, it's simple colors that work with everything. It's minimal choices. It's the right choices. I don't need to sift through a bunch of options that I don't need. So I took that to heart, and that's a big part of the Bali Market is kind of reducing that overwhelm. But I'll have 5 different styles to choose from and just a few colors for each style, and we'll see how people like them, and we'll continue on with the ones that people really connect with. And I like to keep the customer favorites always available. So most of the great towels, those
Yeah.
will always be there for you guys. But I did add a couple fun colors, and I'm just really excited about the new styles. And I think all the towels share that message of the Bali Market and that minimalism and simplicity, and being able to use them in your home or at the beach, or as a blanket. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm excited. I'm very excited for you. I think it's so neat to have, I don't know, just have your own business. I'm currently in the works of starting a candle business, and it is just the nitty gritty, just like that those beginning stages are so difficult. So I love hearing that you're thriving and that you're, going into this new phase, and it's just so cool.
It's so exciting. I love hearing other stories of people and their businesses because it's so personal. Like,
yeah,
it's really a part of who I am, and I love being able to share that with others and hearing their stories. I do a lot of meetups with other women entrepreneurs, and especially here locally in Arizona, trying to connect with local business owners, and you just learn so much from talking to other women and hearing how they're doing it. It's inspiring. Mm-hmm.
Well, Grace, thank you so much. This has been a great interview, and I hope our listeners really gained a lot of inspiration and knowledge from everything you've said today. I know also you have a code for your shop that has been, live for a while now, and it continues to be. So do you want to tell them what that is?
Yeah. We shared this in the first podcast where you talked about the towels, and the code it's Cohesive Home. And that will get you 20% off anything in the shop. And that code is not available anywhere else. It's just for your listeners. So they can use that on thebalimarket.com.
Thanks for listening to the Cohesive Home podcast. If you loved this episode, make sure to share it with a friend, or go to iTunes and give us a glowing review. We'll see you next time.